The night started out ordinary. One of those work dinners you go to out of obligation, not appetite. Vanessa was radiant as always, effortlessly charming in that navy dress that somehow made the restaurant lighting bend in her favor. I sat across from her and her coworkers, trying to keep up with small talk about quarterly campaigns and influencer partnerships I didn't care to understand. Then he walked in, Ryan McAdams, the kind of guy who looks like he was born with a LinkedIn premium account. Tan, confident, always half smirking like he just got promoted mid-sentence. Vanessa's mentor. He clapped me on the shoulder, that fake friendly kind of pat reserved for men who like proving they can touch your life. Literally. Ethan, right? He said, sliding into the chair next to Vanessa. Man, I gotta say, your wife's got great taste. That bracelet she bought, killer design. You pick it out? I froze, fork midair. Bracelet? Vanessa's eyes flicked up just for a second. Too fast, too calm. Oh, this old thing? She laughed. Just something I found online. Ryan grinned, lifting his glass. Well, you've got good instincts, Vanessa. Not every piece comes out that clean with custom engraving. Engraving. He said it casually, like it was a throwaway detail, but it wasn't. I looked closer. A thin silver band hugging her wrist, glinting under the low light. I'd seen it before. She told me she bought it from an Etsy shop a few weeks ago. I never noticed the faint markings on the inside until that moment. Tiny, almost hidden. But Ryan knew, and my gut told me exactly why. I forced a chuckle, tried to swallow down the sudden acid climbing my throat. Yeah, I said, voice tight. Looks great. The table buzzed around us. Laughter, clinking glasses, stories about campaign launches and office pranks. But I barely heard any of it. All I could see was that bracelet catching the light every time Vanessa moved her hand. Every flick of her wrist felt like punctuation to a sentence I didn't want to read. Now, I ain't saying I'm Sherlock Holmes, but when your wife's Etsy find gets name-dropped by her boss like he wrote the receipt, your brain starts connecting dots faster than a conspiracy theorist on Reddit. And since y'all are already here, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Keeps the Wi-Fi on and the heartbreak funded. Back to the mess. I played it cool through dessert. Smiled when everyone toasted the team's big quarter. Even laughed when Ryan joked about how Vanessa keeps everyone in line. But the whole ride home, she kept checking her phone. No playlist, no small talk. Just that eerie silence that fills the space between two people pretending not to suffocate. When we pulled into the driveway, she finally broke it. You were quiet tonight, she said, half turning toward me. Just tired, I replied. She nodded too quickly. Yeah, long day. We went inside like nothing was wrong. She hung up her coat, slipped off the bracelet, and left it on the marble counter. Just like that. Like a loaded gun set between us. I stared at it long after she went upstairs. Under the kitchen light, I could finally see it clearly. Small cursive letters etched into the inside of the band. Not her initials. Not mine. RM. Ryan McAdams. And for the first time in 10 years, the house felt like a stranger's home. The next morning, Vanessa was already gone before I woke up. Her side of the bed was smooth, cold, like she'd slipped out hours ago. A little note sat on the counter. Early client call. Don't wait up tonight. Love you. I stared at those last two words until they started to blur. Love you. She still wrote it like it meant something, like it wasn't drowning in silence and secrets. That bracelet sat exactly where she'd left it, by the fruit bowl, catching the sunlight like it was mocking me. I turned it over again, ran my thumb along the edge until I felt those tiny letters burn against my skin. RM Ryan McAdams. I knew what everyone says. Don't go looking for something unless you're ready to find it. But curiosity doesn't ask for permission. It just grows teeth. By noon, I'd convinced myself I wasn't snooping. I was clarifying, just Checking. I logged into our shared iCloud account, something we set up years ago to stay synced. Only now I wished it wasn't. There it was, her recent photo uploads. Mostly work selfies, dinner tables, shots of branded events. But buried between them, one picture stopped me cold. It wasn't scandalous. It wasn't even obvious. Just subtle. A blurred image of 2 coffee cups on a patio table. Hers, and another one across from it. A faint reflection in the window showed Ryan's ridiculous slicked back hair, and his hand resting just close enough to hers to say, "Too close." The timestamp? The same night she said she was at a team brainstorm. I closed the laptop, heart pounding. That's when I called Brooke. She picked up on the second ring, voice raspy from her late-night bartending shift. "Ethan, you sound like you just saw a ghost?" "Something like that," I muttered. "Let me guess, Vanessa." There was no point pretending. Brooke had always been sharp. She called things what they were, not what I wished they'd be. "She's got this bracelet," I started. Her boss, knew about it. Said it had an engraving. "And?" "It's his initials, Brooke." A pause, then a slow exhale. "Oh. Hell." I rubbed my forehead. I don't want to jump to conclusions. "Sweetheart," she said, her voice softening in that rare, almost motherly way she got when she saw I was breaking. "At this point, you're not jumping. You're just finally looking at where you've already landed." I didn't answer, just stared out the window, watching the neighbor mow his lawn, like maybe his normal, boring life would rub off on me through the glass. That week, I started noticing things I'd ignored before. New perfume, strong, expensive, not her usual floral kind. More makeup in her car. An extra phone charger in her purse. She'd come home late saying things like, "You wouldn't believe how long client dinners can drag." But I'd believe it, because I'd seen the bracelet. One night, when she was working late again, I checked the firm's Instagram page. Their team had just posted a story, Ryan giving a toast. And there she was, right beside him, laughing like the whole world existed only in his reflection. I could have called her right then. I could have walked out. But something in me needed to see it through, to catch her truth in her own words. So I waited. The lies, I realized, were the only things she was coming home on time for. That weekend, she mentioned a company party next Friday. "End of quarter celebration," she said. "You should come this time. Ryan loves when spouses join. It's fun, I promise." That smile. So practiced it could win an award for Best Actress in a corporate drama. And just like that, I knew I'd go. Not to celebrate, but to confirm. Because every story of betrayal has a moment where you stop being the fool and start being the witness. I'll never forget the night I finally stopped pretending. It was Thursday, one day before that big company party. Vanessa had just hopped in the shower, humming along to that same song she always played when she thought I wasn't listening. I waited until the water drowned out the sound of my heartbeat. Then I reached for her purse. She always kept it on the chair by the dresser, zipped shut, neat as her lies. Inside, lipstick, receipts, and a small black jewelry pouch, the same pouch that once carried the bracelet. I pulled it out, my fingers shaking. The tag inside read, "Handcrafted for VC, sterling silver custom order." I flipped the little instruction card and nearly dropped it. There it was, an invoice tucked between the folds. Client name, Ryan McAdams. Note, engrave inner band with RM, silver finish. Shipping address, Vanessa Cole, 2411 West Belmont Avenue. It was like a punch to the ribs. Everything I'd been telling myself, maybe it's a misunderstanding, maybe it's a group gift, collapsed. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a message. When she came out of the shower, steam trailing her like a veil, I was sitting on the edge of the bed with the bracelet in one hand and the receipt in the other. Her eyes darted to both instantly. Ethan, what are you doing? Funny, I said. I was about to ask you the same thing. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Just that tiny twitch, the one I used to think meant guilt over being late or forgetting to text. Now it meant something else entirely. Ryan bought it? I asked, voice barely steady. You just didn't think I'd noticed the engraving? She wrapped herself in the towel tighter, avoiding my eyes. It's not what you think. Oh, great, I said, laughing bitterly. Then maybe you can tell me what is it? Because last I checked, initials don't just appear inside jewelry like Easter eggs. She stepped closer. It's complicated, Ethan. It was supposed to be a team gift, but he... Engraved his own initials? I snapped. Wow, how thoughtful of him. Now pause right there, because this is where half the comment section says, I'd have thrown the bracelet out the window. Yeah, sure. But try doing that when your wife's standing there in a towel, lying through perfect teeth, and your hands are shaking too bad to even aim. Anyway, before we start handing out Olympic medals for self-control, hit that subscribe button. Keeps my sanity sponsored and the drama well-funded. Back to the chaos. She sat down on the bed, voice trembling. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. He ordered it as a joke during a campaign shoot. Everyone got something small. Mugs, pens. He just made mine. Different. Different? I echoed. You mean intimate? Her silence was answer enough. I didn't ask for it, she whispered. I didn't want to embarrass him. So, you wore it every day? Tears filled her eyes, and I could see the rehearsed apology forming behind them, waiting for its cue. Ethan, please, I didn't cheat. I swear. He flirts. It's harmless. Harmless, I repeated, tasting the word like poison. Right, because that's what every marriage needs, some harmless engraving from another man. She reached for my hand. I pulled away. That moment, the space between her hand and mine, felt like a chasm that had been widening for years. I'm still going to that party tomorrow, she said quietly. If you want to come, maybe we can fix this. Fix? I laughed. Vanessa, you can't fix something you keep breaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. The bracelet sat on my nightstand, glinting under the lamp like a silver lie. Tomorrow, I decided, I was going to the party. Not as her husband, as a man collecting proof. Friday night hit with that strange mix of dread and clarity. The kind of night where even the air feels staged. Too crisp, too rehearsed. Vanessa came downstairs looking flawless, of course. Black dress, understated jewelry, hair tucked behind one ear, the same way she always did when she wanted control of the room. She smiled faintly when she saw me in my blazer. You're coming? Oh, I wouldn't miss it, I said. And I meant it. The venue was one of those rooftop lounges with too much glass and not enough soul. String lights, music that tried too hard, and a sea of people pretending to love each other's company. Ryan found us within minutes. He always did. Ethan, he boomed, drink in hand. Glad you made it, buddy. I forced a grin. Wouldn't want to miss the man of the hour. Vanessa stiffened beside me. I could feel the tension in her shoulder, subtle but sharp. She laughed at all his jokes, touched his arm when she didn't need to, and smiled just a second too long when their eyes met. And I watched, the way a surgeon studies a patient before the first incision. Halfway through the evening, Ryan clinked his glass for attention. All right, everyone, before we call it a night, a quick toast to the hardest working woman in the department, Vanessa Cole. The room erupted in applause. My pulse thudded in my ears. He gestured for her to join him near the bar. Vanessa's been the backbone of this quarter's success, he said, smiling like he owned the air around her. And, as a token of appreciation, he reached into his pocket, and my world stopped. There, glinting under the light, was the bracelet. The same bracelet she swore she'd left at home that morning. Ever notice life's like a bad sitcom rerun? Same setups, same characters, different lies. And somehow, I keep paying the subscription fee. So do me a solid. Hit that subscribe button. Keeps the heartbreak caffeinated and the petty revenge brewing fresh. Now, back to this circus. Ryan held the bracelet up like a trophy. "Vanessa," he said, "you forgot something." A hush rippled through the room. Even the DJ cut the volume. He smiled, that slick grin that made my fists ache. This little number seemed to cause some confusion last time. Thought I'd return it. Publicly. And with that, he fastened it around her wrist. The engraved side facing out this time. RM shining in the spotlight. Vanessa's face went pale. People shifted uncomfortably. Someone coughed. I could feel every eye in the room flick between the three of us. Her husband, her boss, her secret. She whispered something to him I couldn't hear. He leaned in, still smiling, and said, "Relax. Just having fun." I didn't make a scene, didn't yell, didn't break a glass like some movie cliche. I just looked at her, long enough for her to see exactly how much I knew, and walked out. The city wind hit me like cold truth. Behind me, laughter picked up again. Music resumed. The world kept spinning, even as mine tilted off its axis. That night, she came home hours later, the bracelet still on her wrist. "I didn't know he was going to do that," she said, voice trembling. I didn't answer, just looked at her and said, "You can take it off now." When she didn't move, I walked upstairs. And for the first time, I locked the bedroom door. I didn't see Vanessa the next morning. Her side of the bed was empty again, but this time not cold. Just gone. The closet door was cracked open. A few hangers missing. Her perfume lingered in the air like a ghost refusing to leave. Downstairs, the bracelet sat on the counter, folded neatly inside a napkin. Like a confession wrapped in silence. No note, no apology. Just that silver band. The engraving catching sunlight one last time, RM, before I dropped it into the drawer next to my old house keys and pocket knife. It was over. But here's the thing, they never tell you about betrayal. It doesn't explode. It echoes. Every quiet moment afterward hums with the question, was any of it real? For days, I replayed that night in my head. The smirk on Ryan's face, the panic in hers, the room full of people pretending not to see what they just saw. And the worst part? I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired. Brooke came by a few nights later, carrying takeout and 2 beers. She didn't ask how I was, just sat beside me, kicked off her boots, and said, "So, did she at least look sorry?" I laughed, shaking my head. You ever seen someone lose a lie mid-sentence? It's like watching a power outage. Everything just goes dark at once. Brooke nodded. Good. Let it stay dark. We ate in silence for a while. The kind of silence that doesn't need filling. After she left, I sat by the window, looking out at the quiet street. A couple walked by, holding hands, laughing about something small. I used to envy people like that. Still do, in a way. But now, I know better. Every perfect picture hides fingerprints. It's been 3 months since the party. Divorce papers came in the mail last week. I signed without reading the fine print, because sometimes closure isn't about details. It's about peace. Vanessa moved to another branch of the company. Ryan got transferred a month later. Office gossip said it was professional restructuring. I call it karma with HR approval. The bracelet? Still in the drawer. Not as a keepsake. As evidence. Proof that truth always finds a way to show itself, whether through a slip, a smirk, or a single engraved letter. I don't wear my ring anymore, but I kept one habit. I still check wrists when people talk with their hands. It's funny how something so small can teach you everything you need to know about trust. You know, people always say, love is blind, but it's not. Love sees everything. It just chooses what not to look at. Until one day, a bracelet, a text, or a careless question makes you open your eyes for good. So yeah, she lost a husband that night, but I found my peace. What would you have done if your spouse's gift had someone else's initials on it? Let me know down below, and hit that subscribe button. Keeps the heartbreak caffeinated and the twisted truths coming every week.